Sonic Frontiers looks very promising. Every problem I had with the series up until this point looks like it's been completely solved in this game. Now, I know what you're thinking. Dude, it's gonna come out any day now. Why not just wait until then to make a video about it after it's already come out? But just hear me out for a second. I think it would be interesting to compare my expectations before launch to how the game actually ends up turning out in the end. But with that in mind, let's get into it, shall we? It should be noted that I'm splitting the rest of this video into 3 parts. My issues with the series so far, how this game seems to have fixed them, and the conclusion. Starting off with things that have been bothering me about the series so far, some of the more recent Sonic games, Forces, have had their levels consist mainly of very straightforward, narrow paths that prevent the player from going in any unique directions or taking different routes, which feels quite suffocating for a character who's meant to be able to traverse all these very wide areas in a quick amount of time. Another thing that's bothered me is how simple the combat is, usually consisting of just having to jump on an enemy once to eliminate them for good. As a result, the whole combat system up until this point has felt very easy to a fault and extremely basic. My last qualm has to be the story. Each Sonic game follows the same basic story outline. It just puts its own slightly different spin on it. It's always Eggman trying to get his hands on some sort of powerful MacGuffin to take over the world, and Sonic and Co. trying to stop him. And there isn't even any overarching plot between each game. They're all very self-contained, so it feels like they all just reset the status quo to use the same old story format over and over again. With that said, let's go to how I believe this game will break tradition and fix many of the issues I have with the series. As for my first issue of the levels being too linear, this game seems to eliminate that by being completely open zone. You're able to run around freely and do things at your own pace in these massive zones where there's practically endless possibilities for different routes and paths. My second issue was that the combat felt too simple. This game seems to have fixed that by creating a dedicated combat system for the players to use, potentially making fights much more interesting and allowing for a whole new world of combos. Lastly, as opposed to a story based around an old repetitive formula, this one seems to be taking a brand new, very interesting spin, featuring a never-before-seen antagonist as well as a completely new setting. All in all, I have a lot of faith in this game. It looks very promising, and I can't wait to be able to play it. But that's about it. Later.